6 surgeons, 4 locations, 1 goal: to improve the health and lives of people in Oklahoma. At Oral and Maxillofacial Associates, we treat every patient like family. As the preferred dental implant and oral surgery specialist of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and with over 30 years of service to our community, we are trusted by professionals and dedicated to expert care. With 4 convenient locations around the metro area, we are here for you. Trust the experts at OMA. Visit our website, www.omaok.com.
Hello and welcome, football fans, to the Skordle Pay Dirt Pick'em Show. I'll be your host tonight, Andy Campbell. And I'm joined tonight, as always, by Tom Nelson, Mark Rogers, and Jacob Diesehorst. We have 2 special guests on tonight, Jacob Unruh and Sean Meek. Jacob has covered Oklahoma high school sports for years and currently works as a deputy sports editor for the Oklahoma newspaper. Appreciate, Jacob, you coming on tonight. Our second guest, you'll recognize, Sean Meek. He's been on our show many times, friend of the show. He was the athletic director and head coach for the Luther Lions for a number of years. Sean has left those positions and is now an administrator at Eastern Oklahoma County Technology Center in Choctaw. Coach Meek, good to have you back. We have 2 Skordle games of the week this week, and we're going to be talking about those in just a few minutes after we discuss our other network games. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start the show with a really good matchup between a Class 2A2 Stroud and A1 Tonkawa. The Bucks are 2-0 after an impressive 27-21 win against Fairview on Friday. Stroud also had an impressive win last week with a 42-34 defeat on the road at Pawnee. Stroud won this matchup 28-0 a season ago. But Mark, who gets the big win in Stroud on Friday?
I'm 0-2 picking Stroud games this year. Picked them to beat Chandler in week 0 or week 1. Then picked Pawnee to beat Stroud last week. And so I'm going with Tonkawa this week after that win over. It was a heck of a win over Fairview last week. And so I think the Buccaneers are building some momentum, had them in the rankings in Class A for the first time this week. So I'm going Tonkawa over Stroud.
Tom.
El Tonkawa had that statement win last week over Fairview. Lucas Keith is a bulldozer of a halfback for the Bucks. He ran really hard against Fairview. Gavin Ward leads that defense. They put the heat on Aiden Nightingale last week, and then Loudon Alexander had a couple of interceptions for the Bucks. Coach Harmon has put together a great staff of coaches as well. I tell you what, Tonka has always had that great tradition, and they're right back there. I think the best is yet to come for the Bucks, but they're going to walk into an ambush at Stroud. I think the Tigers have enough in the tank to get the win, so I'll take Stroud. It's going to be close. It's going to be a great game.
Sean Meek.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that it feels like it's going to kind of be a grind. It's a tough one to pick. Tonk coming in 2-0, Stroud 1-1, tough loss to Chandler. Chandler's a good team. I agree with a lot of points that Tom made. You feel like it's just going to kind of be a grind and be a close game. I think Stroud being at home, I'll probably pick the Tigers to win a close one at home this week.
Jacob Unruh.
Well, if Mark is 0-2 picking Stroud, I'm going to go opposite of him. I'm going to take Stroud.
Yeah, I picked Stroud in week 1. It's not I'm picking against him every week.
Well, but you've been wrong every time, so I'll go opposite.
Hey,
that's good.
Probably the best strategy on the show, to be honest. When you get these kind of matchups like this, when you're talking about 2 teams, that the game's going to come down to what team plays better, what team doesn't turn the ball over, what team, makes big plays, who has time of possession, all the little things that us guys that know football inside out know is what determines a game of 2 teams. I like watching that Tennessee and Georgia game the other night, right? Miss field goal, it's a little thing sometimes. And for me, this game comes down to the little things. That's why I like Stroud in this one, 26-20. I got them a 3.5-point favorite at home. I think Tonkawa have a little bit of a letdown coming off their upset over Fairview last week. And I think Stroud's I agree with Tom. I think Stroud is a team that's going to be a lot better than they showed early in the season. I think they're a playoff team.
Andy, we put you down for Stroud also?
Absolutely. We'll go with the Tigers.
That's good.
Opposite of Mark. 2 of the most storied teams in small school football square off in Oklahoma City with Millwood at Heritage Hall. Falcons are 0-1 on the season after a 22-10 loss against 4A Douglas last week. Heritage Hall won 30-0 at Clinton before a 35-6 loss at a buzzsaw Lincoln Christian team 2 weeks ago. Mark, we'll start with you again. Millwood at Heritage Hall.
It's a little bit of a rebuilding year for Millwood, and they waited and chose not to play in either week 0 or week 1, and last week lost to Douglas. They won the Soul Bowl for the first time since 2015. Coach Turner's doing a really good job at Douglas. This is, I think Millwood can get better as the season goes along, but this is a young team, and I think that asking them to win at Heritage Hall is too much. And if the panel goes against me all on this one unanimously, I'm walking off the show.
Tom Nelson.
Yeah, these two teams have played every year since 2018. That's the last time Millwood won in the series. Last year's game was the tightest in that last 8 years or so. The win 30-27 for the Hall. And as you said, both teams coming off losses. Millwood has lost 6 games over the last 3 seasons, 3 times to Washington in the state championship game and 3 times to Heritage Hall in September. I'm going to go with Mark. I'll pick Heritage Hall to win again on Friday night.
I guess Mark has to stay on the show a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Coach Meek, let's go to you. Millwood at Heritage Hall.
Yeah, you guys said it, Andy. These teams have had some classics over the years. I watched a ton of Heritage Hall Millwood film just over the years. They always seem to play early in the year, and we were coaching against them. Luther playing against Millwood. Just seemed like we watched a ton of film on these guys every year. They've played some classics over the years, but unfortunately, I don't think this year is going to be one of those. I just don't think Millwood's got the firepower to keep up with Heritage Hall this year. So I'm going to take Heritage Hall pretty comfortably this week.
Jacob Unruh.
I remember when they first started playing this series each other, Marcus Major Jr. and Demarion Houston and Heritage Hall was loaded. But I'm with you guys. This isn't that kind of matchup. You got CJ Turnbull at Putnam City now instead of Millwood. I think really hurt when you lose your quarterback. And reports didn't sound good off of the Soul Bowl, so I've got to go Heritage Hall on this one pretty handily.
Jacob Easorse.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't pick Millwood and Douglas last week because I think we all would have missed that one probably. But hey, kudos to Douglas. That's a huge win for them. And you look at the each of these teams' preseason previews, and Millwood's definitely got a lot of young players. If they can generate some big plays, maybe get a lead in this game, then they can maybe keep it close for a while. But they're going on the road to Heritage Hall, and Heritage Hall has revenge on their minds. Heritage Hall's got a really good defense, too, which, Millwood might be a little bit prone to turn the ball over, I think. And so I got Heritage Hall 21.5-point favorite at home, and I have them winning 38-14.
All right, we're going to go to 8-man football for our next pick 'em matchup. Sealing Wildcats are 3-0 and looking absolutely dominant so far with a 46-0 defeat of OBA last week. Pioneer is also 3-0 after a 30-24 win over Class C Timberlake a week ago. Tom Nelson, who stays undefeated this week?
Oh, Pioneer showed me a lot on Friday night in their win over Timberlake. They really imposed their will on the Tigers, racking up almost 300 yards all on the ground. The key for Pioneer is the health of Branson Doyle. He may have had one of the best 3-minute runs on a football field I've seen in a while. He had a couple of big sticks on Timberlake's opening drive. They went 3 and out, actually went for it on 4th down. Then 39 yards rushing and a touchdown on Pioneer's opening drive before he got hurt making a tackle and left the game and didn't come back. His teammates picked him up, though. Gabe Umstead had 154 yards rushing and a couple of touchdowns. Pioneer coach Gus Overstreet told me that Branson's not going to miss this game, and that's going to make this interesting. Sealing has been the dominant. They've been dominant in wins over Snyder, Laverne, and OBA. Pioneer is looking for their first 3-0 start since 2021 and trying to knock off another top team. I think the Mustangs have something for the Wildcats, but I don't think they have quite enough. I got to pick Sealing.
Mark.
I think Sealing will win, but it is a really good year for Pioneer. I think the best team that they've had in a while. Have them hop into the rankings early on the season. So I think Pioneer is in their division, Class B Division 1, is going to make some noise. But I think that how about Class B Division 2 this year? I mean, it's loaded. I mean, they've got the best team, I think, in 8-man and Walika. Sealing is right there next to them. And you're having good years from O'Keen. Coyle is doing an incredible job so far. So that's maybe the most competitive class from top to bottom, like in the top 6 or 7 teams that there is in the state. But so I'm going to go with B2 Sealing to get the win over B1 Pioneer.
Jacob Unruh.
In all the years I've covered high school sports, especially the last years, I've never liked picking against Sealing much on the football field. It seems risky in my business. So I think I'll stick with Sealing on this one.
That's the way I felt about Washington until a couple of weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, exactly. I haven't done picks for our paper in years now, but there were certain teams that you kind of knew, like you don't pick against them much, and Ceilings had that way, been that way for a while.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Carl Albert here in a few minutes as well. Sean Meek, let's go to you.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch much eight man early this season, admittedly. So haven't seen these two teams in depth yet. But it's just one of those games on paper you feel like it's another really tough game to pick, probably a really close game. Both teams coming in undefeated, both putting up points, having impressive wins early. So I see it being pretty competitive. But I got to go with my guy, Coach Manuel, up in Ceiling, and picking the Wildcats to get it done.
Jacob Easorst.
Yeah, Pioneer. That's one of the biggest wins Pioneers had in a few years last week. It's got to be one of those wins that you know your program's going back in the right direction, and that's it's good to see that. It's good to see Pioneer. They're going to be a playoff team this year for sure, but they're going to be the underdogs at home Friday night when Ceiling comes to town. Ceiling's battle tested. They've got a hard nosed defense. In 8-man football, when you're holding teams to, 8 points, 16 points, and winning and still blowing teams out, that means you got good defense year in and year out. So that's why Ceiling's a favorite to be a state champion this year, I think, and that's why they're going to be right there when it gets cold out and it's playoff time. I got Ceiling 8.5-point favorite on the road at Pioneer, and I think it stays just a hair closer than that, 30-22 Ceiling. Half point
Skordle.tv.
closer.
Sorry,
If you guys
Jacob.
were listening to me.
Skordle.tv, Skordle app for these matchups that we've talked about so far. Let's go to pick'em game number 4. Chandler suffered its first defeat of the season with a 42-13 loss at Lone Grove last week. Chandler will face another tough test playing up a couple classes against 4A Clinton. Red Tornadoes are 0-2 so far on the season after a tough overtime loss at Kingfisher last week. Mark, who gets a win in Chandler on Friday?
I think that the Red Tornadoes get a win. They had an unbelievable game with Kingfisher last week. It was back and forth, and Wildland went into overtime. I think Easton Powell is going to be a really, really good player. Got a chance to be as good as his brother Caleb, who helped win a state championship for Clinton a few years ago at quarterback. He's doing the same kind of things, playing quarterback and playing good on defense as a sophomore. So I'm going to go with the Red Tornadoes over the Lugnut Lions.
You're going to get a phone call about this here pretty soon, Mark.
Well, I hope not.
Lugnut's not going to be happy about that pick. Tom Nelson, let's go to you. Clinton at Chandler.
Clinton's 0-2 for the first time since 2017. They're a young team. They're going to get better as the season goes on if they can stay healthy because they have a numbers issue at Clinton. They're kind of low on numbers for a 4A school. Chandler won that big rivalry game against Stroud, then laid an egg last week, losing big to Lone Grove. Got a couple of teams hungry for something to hang their hat on going into district play next week. This is one of those kind of coin toss kind of games for me. I'm going to go with the home team. I'll take the Lions, so Lugnut can be happy with me.
Sean Meek.
That's a big sacrifice just to make Lugnut happy with you.
Yeah. Well, we know Lugnut's watching. Hey, for sure.
Exactly right. Sean
Yeah.
Meek.
Yeah, Clinton coming in 0-2, like you guys said, don't really feel like an 0-2 team. They've had two pretty strong opponents out the gate, and Heritage Hall and Kingfisher, and you guys referenced that overtime loss to Kingfisher. So I agree with what Tom said. I think they're going to continue to get better throughout the year. Chandler's 1-1, but I just don't think they've played an opponent to the level of what Clinton's going to give them yet this year. So I'll take the Red Tornadoes. Close game, but I'm going to take Clinton to win.
Jacob Unruh.
Well, in my last minute research here, literally as you guys were talking, because I've done a ton of research for this, Clinton hasn't started 0-3 since 2015. I don't think it's going to happen again. So I will go with Clinton, much to the chagrin of Lugnut, who I love very much, and I hope he's recovering well. But I'm going with Clinton on this one.
Jacob Easorst.
Clinton's in a tough spot. They're kind of on the ropes early. 0-2, man. They need to bounce back. Luckily, district play hasn't started yet, so they still have something to build on. And losing that tight game last week at Kingfisher. Kingfisher's played 2 really good games, haven't they? Man, Kingfisher high school football, there's something to be said about some of these matchups, and this is one of those games that's hard to pick. I think it's kind of like, again, like I said, who plays better tonight? Chandler's at home. Clinton's got to avoid turnovers, but I expect Chandler to come out with urgency. Um, and I think it's going to come down to turnovers on this game. But I got to pick them. So, and like I said, because I picked against Chandler when Lugnutt was on the show a few weeks ago, and I got it wrong. I'm not picking against him this week, and so I got Chandler winning a toss-up, 28-27.
Thanks for not leaving me on the island. I appreciate that.
All right, guys, we're halfway through our network games.
That's how I go 9-3, Tom. I listen to you whenever I'm not sure.
That's why I'm 7-4.
Yeah.
We will talk about two teams that have not been mentioned yet on the show in 2025. The Sallisaw Black Diamonds, 1-1 on the season after a 27-rip shutout of Stigler 2 weeks ago back on September the 5th. Coach Tyler's team hosts Eufaula this Friday. Ironheads are 0-2 with losses to Vian and Sequoia Tahlequah. Mark, tell us about this matchup.
I'll tell you what I think about this one. Eufaula is struggling a little bit this year. Sallisaw lost its opener to Pryor, who I think is one of the more underrated teams in the entire state. They've got maybe the best team they've had at Pryor ever. So I think that Sallisaw wins behind Dagan Grizzle. Great name, offensive lineman, baseball stud. Case Adams, their quarterback. Jackson Harris, their running back. And I think this one, kind of curious to see what the point spread is on this. I'm going to go with the Black Diamonds pretty comfortably over the Ironheads.
Tom Nelson.
Yeah, the Class 3A Ironheads have already been spanked by a couple of pretty good 2A teams in Vian and Sequoia by a combined 70 points. And this week they get a ranked 4A team in Sallisaw. Eufaula hasn't started 0-3 since 2015. I'll predict that 10 years later it's going to happen again. I'm going to ride with the Black Diamonds on Friday night.
Jacob Unruh.
Oh, in my research here, I didn't research this game. Sorry, but I know that when you look at these scores, it points all to Sallisaw for me. And I have some college connections in Sallisaw, so I'll go that direction.
Sean Meek.
Yeah, you guys made a lot of the same points I was going to. Sallisaw coming in 1-1, lost to a really good Pryor team. I mean, Pryor scoring 50 points on everybody through 3 weeks. And then you look at Eufaula. I mean, they're coming in, giving up a ton of points on defense early in the season. So I don't see Eufaula keeping this game very close. I think Sallisaw is going to run away with it.
Jacob Esource.
Yeah, I'm glad we had a game like this of two teams that we hadn't picked yet this season, so I could learn a little bit about these two teams. Eufaula's, thus far had a tough time stopping people, and that's a problem when you come up against an offense like Sallisaw's, who's got Dagan Grizzle. I mean, how great of a name is that for Oklahoma high school football? 6'4", 245, beef up front, clearing the way for, Hunter Smith and Jackson Harris. These kids just sound like football players, don't they? And they're the Sallisaw Black Diamonds. That's got to be one of the best mascots in Oklahoma. I mean, that's got to be top 5, right? Right, Mark?
It's good. I like it.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Right behind the Railroaders from Winoka somewhere.
I'd like to have a few of their mascots in my pocket right now.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to talk more about Eufaula, but I think they're in for a long night on the road at Sallisaw. I got them 28.5 point dogs, and it might get worse than that. But actually, I think Eufaula comes on the little back door at the end, and Sallisaw wins it 48-20.
All right, we discussed
a backdoor cover by the team that lost by 28.
All right, we discussed the Class 4A Blanchard Lions on the show last week. The Lions will try to rebound after a 63-40 loss at Newcastle by traveling to Guthrie to take on the Blue Jays. Tough 2 weeks there for Blanchard. Guthrie 1-1 after a loss to Tuttle and 0 week that Mark and Adam called here on the Skordle Network. Then a 42-10 win over Duncan a week ago. Tom Nelson, who gets the win on in Guthrie on Friday?
Well, Blanchard was down 21-0 early to Newcastle, playing catch up all night long. Noah Smith threw for 496 yards in that game. Guthrie, as you said, beat Duncan pretty handily. Last year's game was a shootout. Blanchard won 33-24. I don't think Guthrie's going to lose this one at the Rock this year. I'm going to go with the Blue Jays.
Mark.
I agree. What a crazy shootout that Blanchard had last week with Newcastle. Cole Watkins had 200 yards receiving. Noah Smith over 300 yards passing. But Guthrie kind of returned to form with Kelly Beebe and the defense doing the things that Guthrie's defense does against Duncan last week, forcing a lot of turnovers. Dalen Rice is going to get better as the year goes along. Their quarterback is a junior. And I think that Blanchard gets out-muscled up front. And so Guthrie turns the tables on Blanchard this year. But I think this game will be really close. Blanchard won it last year. Guthrie's got a little, definitely a home field advantage there. So I'm still I had my games all listed in order, and we're going around, jumping around on the script tonight. It's throwing me off a little bit.
Me
so
too.
I'm going to go with,
Yeah.
and we may have to get Swish on the phone for the second half of the show. I'm going to go with Guthrie here, though.
Just for the record, I sent a text to all the people on the panel before the show as to the order of the games we're picking. And we did have a late switch in the script, but that's been the only switch. So what Mark is referring to, I think, is a little harsh, but that's okay. He can have his.
You guys remember that scene in Wizard of Oz when they pulled the curtain back and the wizard behind there? Everybody's like, "Oh, yeah,
That's how we do this
That's
show.
so cool after all."
My fault.
That's
My
Adam.
fault.
That's what I'm talking about. It's Adam.
I'm sensing some hurt feelings here, guys.
No, sorry.
Well, Mark's got to get some jabs in. He might have to split a steak later. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens. We'll go to Sean Meek, Blanchard at Guthrie.
It was a game I kind of been going back and forth on, trying to figure out which way I wanted to pick this. I think Guthrie's going to be able to move the ball on Blanchard defense. I think they're going to be able to put up some points. I think both teams will put up some points, but I think I'm going to take Guthrie to get it done at home in the best, in my opinion, the best high school football venue in the state of Oklahoma at the Rock and Guthrie. I'm going to take the Blue Jays.
Jacob Unruh.
First of all, there is no debate about the best stadium and being Guthrie. There's no other debate. I mean, I don't know what you put up with Guthrie. I've always argued that. This matchup excited me. I was excited to see Lance Manning get back on the sideline. First of all, at Blanchard, I think that's really cool. Good guy. Obviously, the offense is going well with Noah Smith last week. That was crazy. But you guys brought up the physicality, and I think Guthrie is always known for that, especially under Kelly Beebe. Talking with some of those guys at our media day, they look like prototypical Guthrie guys that are just big, physical, mean kids when they're blocking and stuff. And so I think that's going to ultimately win out. And I'll have to go with Guthrie at this one on the home field advantage too.
Jacob Esource.
I'm going to bring up Deer Creek soccer for the first time all season, which is hard to believe because that's all I talked about for like 4 years. But one of the honors of my lifetime was when I got to help assistant coach Deer Creek middle school soccer, and we went and played at Guthrie and played a game on that field, a soccer game. Of course, Deer Creek won 10-0, but that's neither here nor there. My point is I got to coach there, and it was awesome. And everybody, and you're right, Jacob. That is number one on the list. It's going to be a great game too. Great football. I don't know if I've picked against Blanchard ever on the show. I don't think I have. But with players like Noah Smith back there slinging it, as much talent, skill talent as they have, but I don't think that's what's going to decide this game. I think it's going to be decided in the trenches, and I think that's where Guthrie has a big advantage, having a kid like Kellen Herzl Sr. back there, 14 tackles per game, I think, so far in the season. And they got some big, bad guys that can rush the passer, Gabe Jackson and Cade Barton on the defensive side. So I got Guthrie a 4.5 point favorite. And like I said, Blanchard won last season. It was a close game. But I got them a 4.5 point favorite at home. And I think Guthrie wins a shootout, 33-30.
I do have to say something about the Rock real quick because you can talk about what a great place it is. It is a great stadium, but as a visiting radio guy, about 10 years ago, they put me in the stands on the visiting side. Luckily, the weather was okay, but they wouldn't let me in the press box. So I'm not a huge fan of the Rock like other people are. But
Okay, I got two things to say here. Apparently, there were some other people that were upset earlier this year about being put outside. You guys don't know what you're doing because I've been put outside many times at games
Yeah.
calling Class
oh,
2A and Class A. So you're soft, Tom. That's not a big deal at all to be
that's
outside, especially if the weather's nice. Remember, I had to be outside when you were trying to do a 30-minute post-game show last year when it was 5 degrees and nobody told me we were outside and I almost froze to death. I had no clothes. All right, two. Nobody
He's
should
not
be
bitter.
worried if Lugnut's mad at anyone about picking against Chandler, or if somebody's mad because he's picked against the team when he goes to call their game outside. That's probably why he's outside anyway. Because Jacob just said that he beat Guthrie 10-0 and ran up the score in a soccer match. If
We didn't run
anybody
the
has a
score.
right to be mad at somebody,
No.
10-0. My
We did not
gosh.
run up the score. We just substituted. We had girls sitting. I remember Deer Creek is 6A girls. We had 11 girls we played, and we take 11 of them off and 11
should have
on.
played
It was
7.
good.
As of late running up the score.
No, it was we just played the first team and the second team.
this
Hey,
just
I hope
shows
nobody gets put outside this Friday night. It's
Yeah,
going to be
listen,
72 degrees and winds of about 5 miles an hour.
all I know is you should try writing in cold weather on
Yeah.
a keyboard and stuff when you've been put outside a press box. That's happened plenty of times to me.
until you've been at the visiting coach's crow's nest
Perry.
and
Perry.
Perry in late October, early November. That's the best experience right there.
That's you have to death-defying climb to get up there in the crow's nest.
Yes.
Well, I got to say, what worries me a little bit about going to O'Keene, it's been a while since I've done a game at O'Keene, but I remember killer wasps in the press box the last time I was there. So I'm looking forward to that on Friday night.
That's a
There's
problem.
got to be some OSHA violations somewhere there at the Perry Crow's Nest.
Yes.
Mark,
Look
did
at the
you have a
wind
rough
blowing
time
40.
at the press box of Lincoln Financial Field on Saturday?
No, it was empty in there. They had some nice food and beverage, and then I went out and watched the rest of the game in the stands. So,
All right, let's go to Pick'em game number 7. It's our first Skordle game of the week. Guys, stop me if you've heard this before, but Carl Albert is undefeated with dominant wins over Midwest City and Eisenhower. The Titans get a tough test this week as the 2-0 Stillwater Pioneers come to town. Stillwater won at Tulsa Union before dismantling Enid 69-0 last week. Mark, give us a preview.
Okay. The last 2 weeks, the state's longest winning streak has ended. Washington was beaten the week before by Sulphur. Tipton got beat by Hollis last week. And so this week, the state's longest winning streak now in the hands of Carl Albert. And so I think it's going to be 3 in a row. Carl Albert is rebuilding a little bit this year. But that doesn't mean they're not good. Anderson Collier's taken over at quarterback, but they just lost so much talent a year ago that I think that they're still the team to beat in Class 5A, but I think they're down a little bit from where they were last year. They have to be because that was just an incredible team. Stillwater is coming off recognizing Rusty Atkins, who's a longtime coach there who passed away this summer. They blew up Enid the other night, and they've got all kinds of young kids on this team. David Thomas, stud wide receiver. Jaden Adams has stepped in at running back, ran for 248 against Union in week 1. This Stillwater team they're building a beast. I mean, they're loaded this year, and they've got a lot of young kids coming up through the ranks that are going to be good. So I'm going to go Stillwater over Carl Albert.
Tom Nelson.
I do think Stillwater has the talent and experience to end the state's longest winning streak for the 3rd week in a row, like Mark said, but I can't pick them. Just like I said about Washington a couple of weeks ago, I can't pick against them until somebody steps up and beats them. They've earned that. They haven't lost since Coweta did it in the opener in 2022. I'm going to take the Titans in a close one. I'll go up, Mark.
Jacob Unruh.
This is one I've been debating all day, honestly, because all these points you've made, Carl Albert's at home, which is always a big advantage for them. I lean to Stillwater, a team that dismantles Union, and I know Union's kind of rebuilding too at the 6A1 level. But a team that dismantles Union like they did with the running back they did, and it sounds like this game's going to be a lot a lot of running back focused game. Uh, I just kind of lean Stillwater. It sounds like they're really doing something great out there, talking to some of our prep guys and stuff on our staff, and the talent that they have at Stillwater is really something. And I think they're gonna edge them, just be a really, really close game.
Sean Meek.
I think this is probably the most intriguing game on paper to look at this week. It's shaping up to what it looks like to be a really competitive game. You guys made a lot of the same points I was going to make. When you see Carl Albert's name out there, you want to pick Carl Albert because that's what you do. Stillwater hung almost 70 points up last week. Their talent level is there to go win this game, to push Carl Albert, but they also haven't faced a team that's got Carl Albert's roster talent yet. So I'm going to agree with Tom. I think until someone proves it to me, I can't pick against Carl Albert. Even though I think it probably makes some sense this week. Stillwater's got the people to do it. But I'm going to go ahead and take Carl Albert to get it done this week.
Jacob Resource.
I'm going to say it now. This might be the matchup of the year in Oklahoma high school football. It's definitely one of them. I mean, we've had some great matchups in the weeks leading up. Last week, my wife, who's a Stillwater High School alumni, had her 30th high school anniversary in Stillwater. So we were in Stillwater last weekend, and they played against Enid, who just happens to be my twin brother, Josh Dieselhorst, the less famous now brothers. He was more famous when we played sports. Now when we talk about him, I'm more famous. Anyway, our wives' alma maters played each other in Stillwater last week, and Tressa's beat Becca's butt, 69 zip. Cute fact, huh? Okay. This is gonna be a great football game. Like you said, I got Carl Albert a 1.5 point favorite. Stillwater going at Carl Albert. Man, this is a coin toss game. I had to decide whether to pick Stillwater 35-28 or whether to pick Carl Albert 28-24. Which one of those games is it going to be? Is it going to be a more high scoring game? Is Stillwater going to win, or is Carl Albert's defense going to be the difference? I have to go with Carl Albert's defense at home, and I don't see Carl Albert losing at home, despite how good Stillwater is. Stillwater's been on a run, but I think they're going to run into year in and year out the class of that side of the Oklahoma City. Carl Albert 28-24.
All right, guys. Skordle.tv, Skordle app for that matchup. You can watch it for free. We're bringing back Todd Miller to call that game, and Sean Meek is going to be the analyst there with Todd. So looking forward to that call at Carl Albert on Friday. Let's go to our second Skordle game of the week, which takes us back to 8-man football in Class B2, where the 3-0 Okeen Whippets will host the 2-0 Wacomas Chiefs on Friday. Both teams have been very impressive in the first weeks of the season, but Okeen dominated this matchup a season ago. Tom, since you're calling the game, give us a preview.
Well, first of all, I've got to thank Mark because I probably would have gone to the Enid High game on Friday night, and now I'll be in Okeen. So thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. After 3 wins on the road, the Whippets finally get to play at Whippet Field. Tanner Allen's in his 3rd year at Okeen. He's got 2 10-win seasons already. This is a program, kind of hard to believe when you think about where they were 15, 20 years ago. It's a program that hadn't had a winning season since 2015 before Tanner showed up a couple of years ago. Their defense has been rock solid, returning 7 starters and posting a couple of shutouts to start the season. That D is going to be challenged by the offensive weapons that Wacomas has. Wyatt Smith, Ethan Brueggemann, and Mason Phelan. Wacomas has scored 114 points in 2 games, but this is a big step up in competition. Okeen has won 21 of 22 in the series, going back to 1969. Last year, Okeen playing 60-20 was the final last year. Now, the Whippets are going to get a playoff-like run over the next month or so. They play Wacomas, Pioneer, and Sealing with the bye week thrown in there as well. It's been years since I've been in the press box in Okeen. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully no wasps.
No wasps. Mark Rogers, let's go to you.
Yeah, the wasps that is a problem. Having wasps in a press box that makes the call a lot more interesting. I mean, I did not know the dominance of the history of the series, but Tanner Allen knows. I think he knew that Okeen is a place that's ready to win. So I don't think Wacomas can make up the difference in last year's game. I had that one 74-20. There must have been a late touchdown in there, or somebody reported a score wrong or something like that. So they put up 74 last year. I think it'll be closer this year, but I'm going to go with the Whippets, who have yet to allow. I don't think they allowed a point unless they allowed one last week against Gary.
We have a former 8-man All-Stater on the panel tonight. Let's go to you, Sean Meek.
Always fun to talk 8-man football. So I see this being a very good game. I tried to do some research on this today. I didn't realize that that Wacomas was being led by Coach Donaldson now, Rustin Donaldson, which he's an old Covington Douglas Wildcat. We had some battles in high school back in the early 2000s. I got no doubt that Rustin's doing a great job at Wacomas. And then Coach Allen at O'Keene, he's an old Winoka guy, and I've been impressed with him ever since he got to Winoka. I remember I went to a Winoka game, I think his first or second year there, and I watched, and I just, I was impressed with everything he was doing from day one. So got two good coaches. I think that O'Keene is prepared with Coach Allen to go compete with the best in Class B and possibly go compete for a state title. So very competitive game, but I think the Whippets are going to get it done.
Wacomas at O'Keene. Let's go to you, Jacob Unruh.
The history of the matchup was news to me as well from Tom there. I appreciate that. And I was already leaning towards O'Keene, mainly because I just like the mascot with Whippets. Hard to argue with that. It's a cool mascot. And the last time I went to O'Keene was over a decade ago when I wrote about the Dobrinsky quadruplets for the Oklahoman. And so I always have fond memories of going there and writing that Friday Night Lights story that I did back in the day. And so I always have a soft spot for O'Keene.
Yeah, it'll be, I don't know, Mike Dobrinsky, of course, now he's a legislator. He used to be the PA guy out there. I wonder if we'll see him in the press box on Friday. I don't know if he's still doing it. But.
So when I wrote that story that year, he was the PA guy. Yep. The daughter was a cheerleader, and the three boys were the seniors on the team, and it was crazy and stuff. So they're all grown up now and everything, of course. But that was one of my favorite stories I wrote when I was in the prep beat.
Yep. I am told by inside sources that Mike still is the PA man in O'Keene. So, Tom,
I'm looking forward to seeing him
on Friday.
I've sat in his office many times and told high school stories, football stories, and basketball stories over the years.
I got the O'Keene Rattlesnake Festival, too, as the number 2 rattlesnake festival in the state behind the Mangum Rattlesnake Festival. They did have a helicopter giving rides the year that I went to the O'Keene Festival, but the Mangum JCs actually took us out and allowed us to hunt rattlesnakes. And so that's how they get the edge over the O'Keene Festival.
Mark, have you had to eat rattlesnake by chance?
I did eat rattlesnake, and I'm glad to say that I don't have to do that anymore. I did it one time. It was very, very, very tough.
Fried, smoked, blackened?
It was fried, and it was there's still a mental obstacle there. Like, I know that I'm eating rattlesnake, so it doesn't allow me to enjoy it very much.
Well,
it's tough. It's tough as a boot.
I'm scared to death of snakes, but doing the live remote broadcast for the radio station 5 straight years in O'Keene, I'm still scared to death of snakes, but I got way too close to rattlesnakes too often out there. I tried to, since I'm live on the radio, I was trying to be, look like I was tough, but I was peeing down my leg.
Sean, some disrespect there from Mark on the Winoka rattlesnake hunt.
Well, no. So
I haven't been there, so it's not eligible.
Then you can't rightfully rank, rattlesnake hunts if you haven't been Winoka yet.
I can only rank the ones I've been to. So maybe we'll go to the Winoka one sometime.
If you ever get a chance to go to Winoka rattlesnake hunt, go to the Winoka Saddle Club and go look up the history of it, okay? And go look at what name has dominated the Winoka rattlesnake hunt for the last 30 years.
Oh, is it the Meek name?
I'm not going to tell you the answer to that question, Mark. You got to do some research on your own.
Now, does the Winoka Saddle Club do something as good as the Bremen Saddle Club that may make fry bread for the K County Fair?
I haven't been to the Bremen Saddle Club, so I can't rightfully rank those, But
you guys are writing all this down. Everybody that's watching, this is like your schedule for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not going to a rattlesnake hunt. I'm good. Yeah. I'm going to pass. Snakes aren't my thing.
It's my turn to talk. When I was a kid, I didn't know there was all these rattlesnake hunts. I thought O'Keene had the only one because that was the only one we ever went to. And speaking of best mascots, you can't go in the state of Oklahoma best mascots without mentioning the Baby Blues. with the Whippets and O'Keene. And Tom, to your story earlier, O'Keene had a real big problem with Yellow Jackets back when I played at Fairview, but they were orange and black Yellow Jackets, and they did not like it when we came to town. Just put it that way, especially in hoops. I think Josh and I both had our high scores of our careers in that gym. But back to football. Sorry, O'Keene. Now I'm going to pick you guys to make you feel better. O'Keene has got the advantage in this game. 10.5 point favorites. And O'Keene does have the best rattlesnake hunt. Sorry. I noticed Mark called it the Rattlesnake Festival, and then Sean referred to it as a hunt. And then I knew that Sean's hunted rattlesnakes before when he called it the hunt. Because I always called it the hunt too when I was growing up. But anyway, it's going to be a great game. O'Keene, 10.5 point favorites, and O'Keene wins at 38-28.
It was a festival for you too, Jake. It
Yes,
wasn't
it is a festival. I know.
Well,
I never went hunted. I just walked around and tried to say hi to pretty girls at that age.
Jacob, you got Warika, Apache, Winoka, O'Keene, Mangum. You got a whole round you got to hit.
I've heard there's some rattlesnakes out there. I know when you golf, when you go look for your ball in the rough, you better.
Well, I'll tell you
keep your
what.
eyes up.
If you're ever golfing at Roman Nose in like April, I mean, you better be ready because you're going to see at least one of them.
Sean Meek, by far the most knowledgeable rattlesnake guy we've ever had on the panel.
I know where I'm not playing golf in April.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, shout out to Waukomis and O'Keene, both Skordle Network schools. Skordle.tv, Skordle app, O'Keene Whippets.tv for that matchup. Really looking forward to hearing Tom and Adam on the call Friday night in O'Keene.
I wish I could say that we'd get there early enough and get the camera going early enough to catch the whippet running around the field, but they don't do that anymore. They had a whippet that ran laps around the field in the pregame, but he got too old, and but that was been 15 years ago, so that dog's probably not around anymore. But I do miss the pregame whippet laps around the field.
That's a sad story.
I think PETA shut that down. Real, least heard. But
All right, we're going. Those are our 8 network
that's our
games.
first PETA reference ever on the show, guys. That was big. That was big.
We're
Sorry.
going to discuss 4 of the Skordle non-network games in the state of Oklahoma this week. Cannot watch these matchups for free on Skordle, but looking forward to seeing who prevails in these matchups. We're going to start Choctaw at Bixby. Mark Rogers.
They had the big field opening last week at Hayes, Kansas. They're pretty good. They took care of Choctaw. Choctaw had a nice rally kind of in the fourth quarter to get back and where it was close. This is another really tough test for Choctaw. I think the Yellow Jackets can be good. Stillwater, with the youth that they've got, has surprised me a little bit. Muskogee's 0-3 in that class. And so Sand Springs has played tough so far this year, but we might be headed for a Choctaw-Stillwater showdown in that class. But I don't think they're going to have it this week at Bixby. Good luck to anybody beating the Spartans this year. I think Lauren Montgomery's going to make it 8 in a row. So I'm going to go with Bixby.
As a native Kansan, now in Oklahoma, who grew up and spent a lot of my formative years in Hays, I told the Hays High, the voice of the Hays High Indians last week, that the only way Choctaw had a chance to lose this game was if they were looking past Hays to Bixby this week. And then, of course, I'm not going to reach out and see what he thought about that result. I was very surprised. I mean, Hays, they're a 5A school, second largest class, enrollment-wise, probably about half the size of Choctaw. And I was very surprised to see that. And I talk up Oklahoma high school football all the time, but I've been kind of quiet this week to my friends back in Kansas. But I'm going Bixby this week after that. I think Bixby will probably take care of them, and it might not be that close.
Jacob Unruh, let's go to you. Choctaw, Bixby.
Bixby, I mentioned earlier there's teams you just don't pick against very often. Bixby's reached that territory for me. They're so loaded in talent. They're nationally ranked by national outlets and stuff. I don't think Choctaw has the horses to run this game very long. I think it's not going to be particularly close when it's all said and done. As much as I've liked what Jake Corbin's done at Choctaw, and I'm with Mark, I think they're kind of a favorite to go back to the title game. But there's just a huge gap between Bixby and just about everybody else in the state. So.
Sean Meek.
Yeah, so you guys mentioned Choctaw had a tough loss up at Hayes last week. I do think they're a team that's going to continue to get better throughout the year, and I think they're going to be right in the mix in 6A2 when it gets into November and December. And I'm going to catch a little bit of backlash for this pick because I work in Choctaw every day. But there's not a team in the state that I would pick to beat Bixby right now in any environment, any situation. So I got to take the Spartans to beat Choctaw this week.
Jacob.
Yeah, it's been fun getting to pick these games like this on the show. This is another classic matchup. These are two of the most elite programs in Oklahoma high school football over the last 5-10 years. As long as we've been doing this show, we've been talking about these two teams being at the top of their respective classes and having championship caliber teams year in and year out. And I agree with Sean. Choctaw will be there at the end, 6A2, and it comes down to the playoffs. They're going to be in the mix and make a lot of noise and have a chance to win it. But going to Bixby, and I also applaud Choctaw for playing a schedule like this and going at and playing teams and going on the road, playing at Hayes, Kansas, and then going on the road and playing the best team in the state, top 10 ranked team nationally. Kason Kirby back at starter at quarterback for a team that is the team to beat in 6A1. It's the team to beat in Oklahoma. It's the number one team in Oklahoma. And they're fun to watch too. If you get a chance to watch Bixby play, I got to watch them the last few years. But now I'm stuck watching seventh grade football because I have a seventh grade cheerleader. I was at Deer Creek Piedmont on Tuesday night. So anyhow, Bixby's a team. Same with everybody else. I'm going with the panel here. I had this line 27.5. It's one of those lines. Remember, you guys look at the lines every week and you're like 27.5. Like, oh, that seems like they should win by 28, right? And I don't know, man. It's one of those trap lines. But I think Bixby, 48-21 is the final. So they win by 27. So don't bet on Bixby, but they're going to win.
All right. Piedmont at Norman. Tom Nelson.
Now, Piedmont hasn't given up a point yet. They've shut out Midwest City and El Reno. They've had a couple of weeks to get ready for Norman. Don't be surprised to get caught looking ahead a little bit. They play Choctaw in their district opener next week on the road. I'm looking for an edge here, and I'll take that and the fact that Norman's at home, not to mention that Norman won last year 41-14. I'll take the Tigers in this cat fight.
Mark Rogers.
Hey, Norman's good. They go to Norman North and knock them off in the first game that they played in their home stadium. Crew Knowles had a pick six to start that game. Then they handled Santa Fe last week. And so, credit to Piedmont for scheduling up a class. And this is a pretty big difference, I think, in enrollment here. So I'm going to go Norman over Piedmont. Piedmont's, I think, probably should mention Piedmont as being a team. Piedmont and Putnam City, two pretty good teams. Putnam City won against Putnam West 75 zip. They play Choctaw coming up the first week of October, which should be a pretty good game. But I think that Norman's going to be too much for Piedmont at home.
Sean Meek.
You guys mentioned it. Piedmont coming off a couple shutouts to start the season. They're not going to shut Norman out this week. Norman's going to score some points. Big win for Norman over North last week. I think that kind of sent a message and just showed how good they're going to be. So Piedmont's going to get up some points this week, and I'm picking Norman to win the game.
Jacob Unruh.
I really want to pick the upset here to pick Piedmont. I like what Jeff Hall's done out there. What he's built out there is that school's expanded so much. I know he runs the flex bone offense that could give teams fits, keep the ball away. And their defense obviously is off to a really good start. But I just like what Norman's done too, and they're so athletic and so talented. I think it's going to be closer than some people would probably think it would be, but I think Norman will edge them.
Jacob Esource.
Yes, another great matchup. Piedmont going on the road, going up and playing Norman. Norman's got a pair of linebackers that make the line of scrimmage kind of a tough place to be. And Piedmont runs the ball, runs the split tee, runs the Air Force offense. So we're going to get to see kind of like Piedmont's strengths and Norman's strengths kind of collide. So this will be a good. I agree that this will be a closer game than a lot of people think, because Piedmont's a really really good team, and better and getting better every year it seems like. But I got Norman a 14.5 point favorite at home, and I think they win the game 34-21.
All right, let's go to Class A. Rejoice Christian at Christian Heritage. Mark Rogers.
This one was a matchup that they played twice last year. Rejoice won both of those on the way to the state championship. I think CHA is down a little this year from where they were last year when they made that great run in the playoffs. So I will go with ZZ Oklahoma and Camion Compton-Nero and the rest of Rejoice to bounce back after losing to Cassia Hall. So give me the Rejoice Christian Eagles.
Yeah, Rejoice has had 2 weeks to marinate about that loss to Cassia Hall. Christian Heritage has been shut out by OCS and then shut out Crooked Oak. This is not a good spot for CHA. I think Rejoice wins big.
Jacob Unruh.
Yeah, I think Rejoice is the favorite here in my pick here. When you've got a combo like ZZ and Camion Compton Nero, it's going to be really tough at that level for someone, and no matter how good they are, to stop that combo at the Class A level. But I think Christian Heritage, like you said, is a little bit of the transition after last year's run. So I think Rejoice is going to run away with this.
Sean Meek. Sean, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. I agree with what you guys. I'm going to pick Rejoice to win the game, but I do think it's going to be a little closer than most people might think. CHA is kind of a weird place to play. We played there a ton. I think it's kind of a tough place to play. So I do think Rejoice is going to win the game, but I do think CHA will keep it close late. They always play hard. They're always well coached. So I'm going to take Rejoice, but a little closer than most folks probably.
All right, Rejoice CHA. Jacob Beashorst.
Yeah, another really great game. Rejoice Christian. Mark was raving about Camion Compton-Nero a few weeks ago, saying he might be one of the best players in the state. And so he's definitely an athletic vertical threat and a mismatch against every team that Rejoice Christian plays against. And then speaking of size and speed, I'm not going to act like I can still pronounce that kid's name right. Somebody pronounce it for me so I don't get it wrong. With the last name like Diesel Horse, that's like so disrespectful.
ZZ Okafalizi.
Okafalizi. I think that kid's going to be the difference in this game. And but I also agree that Christian Heritage at home, this isn't just going to be a walk in the park for Rejoice. I got them, but I do have them a two touchdown favorite on the road at CHA, and I think just too much talent from Rejoice Christian's the difference, and I have them winning the game 41-21.
You notice how Mark and we both had to get ZZ Okafalizi's name in there just to once again to prove we knew how to say it. So
definitely one of the names of the year in high school football this year. Hey,
I believe he got an OU offer.
He's committed to OU.
Yeah,
he's committed. I actually had one of our writers tell me how to pronounce his name the other day, and I wrote it down, and then I forgot to bring my note with me for this on how to pronounce it, so that's why I skipped it. So,
how good is OU? Oh wait, we'll save that for another show.
Oh.
Everybody wants to talk about it. Let's go.
All right, let's go to our final pick of the night, Pecola at Vian. Tom Nelson.
Pecola is catching Vian at a bad time and place in St. John Stadium with the Wolverines coming off a loss. Pecola has never beaten Vian in 25 meetings going back to 1982, and they haven't even been close. In 8 games between 2012 and 2021, Pecola didn't even score a point. Last year was the closest it's been since 2010. The final was 67-34. I'm not going against that history. Give me Vian.
Mark.
The only thing I can add is that 8-year streak when they didn't score, they got outscored 494-0.
Yeah, there are some ugly scores in there. I mean, ugly scores.
8 straight shutouts. That's crazy. I don't know. Braden Hardwick, 4 touchdown receptions this year for Pecola, 3 punt returns for touchdowns. And Pecola right now, I mean, we've seen the basketball team at the state tournament a bunch. They got a bunch of really, really good athletes. Adam and I called the game at Kiefer last year, and I was a little bit surprised at the result. I think Kiefer's still a young team, but they knocked off Vian and surprised them a little bit. I think I'm going to agree with Tom, but I don't think that it would be crazy to pick Picola in this game. But I'll go Vian and a tight one.
Jacob Unruh.
Yeah, I almost was going to lean Picola, but then Tom threw out those numbers, and then Mark threw out that number two, and I I feel like I'll go crazy against Miami. But if you want to know a little fact about me, guess who the first high school football coach was I ever covered a game of?
Let's go. Let's go. Brandon Tyler.
Oh, Gary Willis.
Gary Willis.
He was at Keys when I was in college at Northeastern State, and he's the first coach I ever covered. So
Nice.
I'm just going to lean that way because of Gary and my history with Gary. I'll go by on the edge, but I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really close. Is what I'm trying to say.
Sean Meek.
But Tom mentioned kind of the one-sided history between these two schools with Vian dominating Picola over the years. Sometimes that's a more difficult mental hurdle to get over than some on a talent level. Some years, just knowing that you haven't got over the hump and beat them. I do think if there's a year they're going to get it done, I do think Picola has the ability to beat Vian this year. But again, sometimes that's a tough mental hurdle to get over. Vian at home, they're tough. I'll take Vian in a really tight, close game late.
Jacob, D-Source.
Yeah, Picola's got some studs, man. They got a bunch of Posey and Antoine Thomas and Gerald. Very talented bunch. This is going to be unlike other games in this series in that this is going to be a really competitive football game. I think Vian knows that, and I think Vian, being coming into the season, one of the favorites to win the gold ball or being in the mix for the gold ball at home is going to have something to prove. They've got, Riley Ellis is going to have to deliver under pressure in a game like this, and Mason Wright, the other kid, the explosive player they have. This is going to be, like I said, a great football game. I got Vian a 10.5-point favorite, and I think they win at 28-21.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for joining us on the Skordle Pater Pick'em show this week. Be sure to tune into Skordle.tv or the Skordle app so you can watch the network games we just discussed for free. As a quick reminder, Stillwater at Carl Albert with Todd Miller and Sean Meek on the call, and then Waukomis at O'Keene with Tom Nelson and Adam Diesehorst. Those are our two Skordle games of the week this week. Thanks as always to our sponsors and our guests tonight, Coach Meek and Jacob Unruh from the Oklahoman. Enjoy all the football this week, Oklahoma. We'll see you back next week.
It's time to enjoy the sweet taste of Brahms Strawberry Shortcake Sundae. Our creamy vanilla ice cream is nestled on top of Brahms fresh-baked golden bundt cakes with spoonfuls of delicious strawberry topping all around, complete with fluffy whipped cream and a cherry to create the perfect flavor combination. Strawberry goodness is waiting for you at Brahms.